So many things that held us down, but now it seems like things are finally coming around. I know we've got a long way to go. Where we'll end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold us back. Gonna put ourselves together, gonna polish up our head. Hey, if you've ever been held down before, I know you refuse to be held down anymore. Hey. Don't you let nothing stand in your way. I want you to listen to every word I say, every word I say. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move, yeah. Ain't no stopping us now.
Good morning. It is time for Empire Talks Back. I'm here, Wallace Allen, on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. Folks, we're here to talk about accountability, responsibility, transparency, and all of those things that we as good citizens depend on our authorities, our authoritative people, our legislative people, our folks that we trust to do things for us, our police, and our insurance companies. We had a tragic incident this week. We had an incident where the president, the CEO of United Healthcare, was walking down the street on his way to a meeting to, I guess, talk investors into putting enough money in so he could probably get a raise from that little paltry $10 million a year that he's making. And he was assassinated, and I'm sure most of us know about that part, and there's no taking that lightly, and there's no assuming that there's anything except tragedy involved when something like that takes place. However, when it did take place, it seemed like a lot of people who have thoughts about insurance and their insurance company took to the social media. In many cases, it was to complain. Most cases, it was to complain about relationships that they have with their insurance company. In many cases, it was people who have been denied insurance claims. And, you know, it's a terrible thing to be sick and be depending upon an insurance company to follow through, and remembering that insurance companies are businesses. They're here to make money. They're not just following through all the time with that wonderful attitude of help and support that a salesperson gives you when they are entering or enrolling you in a program. We're in the middle of open enrollment in California now. It's a deal where you make a phone call. You call it. If you've got social media, you're being approached by 5-6 different companies almost every day to remind you that it's open enrollment, and if you want Medicare, if you're on Medicare, you need to double check and see how your coverage is. Well, you know, that's makes a lot of noise to most of us. I mean, it's noise because most of us have no idea what we are signing when we sign up for health care. When we sign most of the contracts, most of you, when you sign the OK on an app for your social media, for your computer, you know, did you read the agreement? You know, if you don't read the agreement, you can't get in. So you look at the agreement and it's only 9-10 pages long. You could, you know, take the afternoon and do that, or you could assume that the law is protecting you. We do have a consumer protection agency. We did. I think it got gutted and got gutted. It's certainly not as strong and powerful as it could be, or should be, or as you expect it to be. I'll bet you expect you got more protection at the state and federal level for people who lie to you about what they're selling you, for people that sell you products that actually poison you. Actually, I mean, we hear about these things. We hear about people complaining like that. But we've got laws. We've got protection. We've got Big Brother that's supposed to make these things easier for us. I've got big cousin. I've got a cousin in Atlanta, Georgia. My cousin Caleb Anthony. Caleb, are you on the line?
I am. How you doing, cuzzo?
God is great. I'm extremely grateful to be able to suck up all of the oxygen that I can. You know, I'm at the point where I'm just happy to be here. But at the same time, Caleb, I've got a little leadership position on the planet. A lot of people believe that the things that I say are analyzed and properly lined up, and that they can believe 90% of what I say. Nobody believes me 100%. Well, I take that back. I've got a couple of grandkids. Got a couple of grandkids that think Papa can do anything and everything. You know how that is. And you do the same. I know you have the same. You have the same situation.
I got a couple of them like that too.
That's right. And
no wrong with it.
And nothing wrong with that. And we also know that despite the fact that we know that our grandkids are trusting us to tell them the whole truth, we keep them fantasized a little bit because we know that the whole truth isn't always going to keep them as happy and smiling the way we want them to be happy and smile. Am I right with that?
You're absolutely right.
Okay. Caleb, tell people what you do, or can you give us a little history of what you used to do and what you are doing now to make your living? Well, let me say, I don't say it's making your living because you're one of my rich cousins. You're kind of wealthy kind of guy. You don't have to do these things, but I guess you do them to keep your grandbabies happy.
Yeah, if you call making $100 a week rich, I'm 100 there.
Okay. Well, that's the beauty of being able to kid about being poor because you know damn well you're not. So it's okay.
We both are rich. We both are rich in love. That's what we are. We got
absolutely wealthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely wealthy.
Our first, family second, and everything else to come.
I wouldn't trade the love I have for $10 million a year at all. Not at all.
There you go.
Caleb, I know that you have an experience.
My background.
Yes, please.
Yeah, my background is insurance, basically. I did homeowners insurance for 15, 20 years with a company. So I'm very familiar with what you guys are talking about. And now, what we do now, we have an EMS company that deals with a different type of insurance, health insurance.
Yes.
So unfortunately, that what happened to the CEO is very unfortunate. My condolences go out to the family. And of course, when you read a lot of stuff online, a lot of people have been saying that it's almost understandable coming from the consumer aspect of it. So, and it's like you said earlier, it has a lot to do with the contract. And we as consumers, we don't read the contract. And that plays a big portion of it. And I'm just going to go back to the homeowner section first. Let's talk about that briefly. When you have your homeowner's policy, you're thinking you're just insuring your house. And you think everything on your house is insured by your homeowner's insurance. But it's not. It's the policy. Whatever the policy says is what you're insured for. So that's where a lot of deniers come in. As far as the health insurance, it's basically the same way. You've got health insurance. You got salesmen out there now that's going to sell you a pipe dream.
Right.
I mean, I get the calls from Medicare all the time. But what people don't know is you need to get the insurance that fits your needs. An example would be this. A dialysis patient that cannot walk needs stretcher transportation. Okay. Every insurance does not do that. So that dialysis patient might think they have coverage, but when it's time for them to be transported, they will get denied from the transportation company because of that.
Now,
So
Mark, you said the
Go ahead.
patient may think that they are insured for the ambulance ride, but they find that they're not. But they only find that out after the billing is done. How? So it sounds like the network or the team that a person is on, if, they may think they know it, or they may not have any idea what it's all about, but the insurance company knows about it, the doctors know about it, and you as a provider of the ride, when do you know about the networking? Is it your responsibility to find out before you pick people up, or is that something that takes place, once again, only after the billing?
it is our responsibility. But the problem with that is, example, John is covered by Aetna. Same condition. Linda, same condition, has Aetna also. But she's not covered. You have some people that are, when they go to the hospital, they get discharged, they need a ride from the hospital to their home.
Mm-hmm.
It's not covered, and some are. Some people have bigger out-of-pocket expenses, quote-unquote deductible. At the beginning of the year, it might be $8,000-$9,000. So who's going to pay that $8,000-$9,000 until the deductible is met?
Mm-hmm.
Now, and it's kind of funny because the deductible could mean, okay, out-of-pocket for dialysis ride, or it could be a combo of hospital stay and dialysis ride. It could be a number of things. And it's really a sad situation for the consumer, because we, first of all, we don't read the contract. And then, number one, when we read it, we don't understand it.
Yeah, we don't read it, and then when we do read it, we don't understand what we read. That's that is. But that's common. That's normal now. This is what we do. And of course, since it's normal, like I said, you can go online and try to move in, use an app, and before you can get into it, you have to agree that you've read the terms of agreement. And you say, well, okay, let me look at that. And like I said, yeah, you may have 8 pages of terms of agreement, and you're not going to read it 9 times out of 10, and you're going to go on and snap or tap that little line that says, I agree. And then later on, you'll find out from someone like Mr. Musk that everything that you've written and done on that platform doesn't belong to you. It belongs to him.
It does not belong to you. You're
No,
absolutely right.
it doesn't belong to you.
100% right, as a matter of fact.
So if we think we're archiving our family history and putting ourselves in a position where we can own the rights to our story, and the fact that we spent our lives telling it all in one place, that's an interesting thing when people die. So I understand that some people die and they're able to move that account without a problem, but according to Mr. Musk, that's up to them. So we have an issue there. But I've been blessed here, Cousin Caleb, to have Dave and Brenda Sutton of Sutton Insurance, Sutton and Sutton Insurance come in, and they are brokers. They don't represent one company, so they're not tied to any particular. I started to say devil, but that they're not tied to any particular angel either, right? So it's not a particular angel or devil. And I've got one microphone for you guys. So Dave and Brenda, before we get started, Caleb, I had them on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked for a long time. And it was so fired up and interesting that I didn't tell people how to get in touch with them. And so that's the first thing we want to do. Brenda, would you introduce yourself again and tell people how to get in touch with Sutton and Sutton? Because once we get going, we may forget again, because this is a powerful subject.
Thank you for having us, Wallace.
Can they hear you? Let's see.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, yeah? Okay, good.
Yes.
I just like hearing you say thank you for having us, so we can do that again.
Yes, thank you for having us. And I'm Brenda Sutton, the president of Sutton and Sutton Insurance Services, and we can be reached at 301 9th Street. That's our location in Redlands, Suite 100. Our phone number is 909-300-5444. That's 909-300-5444. And I have with me my husband, Dave Sutton.
Thank you, Wallace. I appreciate you having us so we can make that perfectly clear. We're available in Redlands at 301 9th Street, and our phone number is 909-300-5444. Now that we've got that.
Very good, very good. Okay, so what we're talking about and trying to...
Thank you.
Thank you. We had the master come in and straighten us noise out for us, Lord. We're discussing our issues that has come up as a result of Mr. Thompson's being assassinated, the CEO of United Healthcare, and the response. There's, certainly people have been sympathetic to an extent, but then there's other folk who have used this as a means of saying, maybe it's fair. Some folks are trying to make a folk hero out of the shooter, trying to make him some type of Robin Hood standing up for those who have been denied. The insurance business, like all businesses, has a lot to do with, do you understand?
Definitely.
And I'm bringing you guys in for two reasons. One, to clarify who you are, where you are, as I had promised. And the other, to talk about the responsibility that goes along with being a representative of a specific company and the ability to represent the industry and be in a position to suggest a variety of companies to cover people's needs. On the phone line here, we have Mr. Caleb Anthony of in Atlanta, Georgia. He has a service now where he provides ambulance rides for people who need to go from the hospital or from home to the doctor and things of that sort. And I called him this morning, and I asked him, I says, and I know he used to sell another type of insurance, and it was home insurance, right, Caleb? And so what we were wanting to do is find out, whose responsibility is it to be sure that we've got clarification on what the policy says, on understanding the policy. And obviously, if I'm a salesman, and I used to have an insurance license, a life, and 22, 23 years old, trying to sell, my goal was to close the deal. And, we had classes. I had to earn that license. I had to go to school to earn that license to understand. And quite frankly, I don't have it now because I didn't like going to school to learn more and more and more about the license. I didn't mind sitting in the house trying to close somebody on the deal. But it wasn't something that I was really comfortable with. As a representative of the industry, understanding those kind of things, Dave,
Yes, sir.
how do we respond to that responsibility? How is that responsibility shared? And Caleb, listen close, because I'm going to ask you, how you agree or disagree with that.
Well, in my opinion, anytime you're in a transaction, you as the consumer bear complete responsibility over what you choose to do. That's in any decision. So if you're going to purchase, whether it's health insurance, a car, a pencil, whatever it is up to you to understand what you're doing when you make that decision to purchase it. Now, as a salesperson, consultant, broker, agent, whatever your position is in the selling process, delivering that product to the consumer, you have a responsibility as well, and that responsibility is to represent properly, represent in good faith. In the insurance industry, when we came along and we were taught the insurance industry, our goal was to represent the best interest of the client.
Fiduciary.
Yes. when you operate in the best interest of the client, sometimes that means don't sell that product. Sometimes that means, sir, I could help you do this, but it's not good business.
I know in the mortgage business, if you're selling refis, if a person has, when you finish selling the refi, that person should be in better condition,
Yes.
paying less money at a lower rate
Yes.
than before. And that's pretty much part of the industry. You can lose your license if you don't do that. But where is the authority to follow through and to examine and be sure those things take place? Consumer affairs, sometimes the state licensing process does that. But there seems to be a lot more leeway in the terms of the insurance business, mainly because I guess the terms of agreement, that those pages are quite long.
Right.
How, as a consumer, let me go to you. Caleb, are you still there? My cousin Caleb.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
Caleb.
here.
Yeah, so Caleb, as we if we look at your clients are in immediate need to be taken to the doctor, be taken to the hospital, or from the hospital, one hospital to another. If they don't understand the network connection, if they're moving from one hospital, as we read in one case about United, there was a lady in one hospital that was not covered in the network to do the operation, and she needed to go to a hospital that was in the network. And she had to be taken by an ambulance, because obviously if she wasn't under care of the ambulance, it'd be hard to determine whether the injury was the way it was supposed to be. So the insurance company said, but we will not pay for an ambulance to pick her up from this hospital that is not in the network. So the patient was pretty much in a bad situation there. They're in a hospital that's not in the network, that the insurance company will not pay the ambulance fee to move them to a hospital that is in the network. Have you experienced anything like that? And if so, how do you deal with that as an ambulance provider?
That's absolutely true. You just either you take them and don't get paid, or you don't take them.
Yeah. So
And the worst part about that situation is a lot of times you don't know whether or not just because. A lot of times you don't know when you take that patient whether or not they are in network. You really don't sometimes.
So you're in this business. You've been in this business since you retired from your previous. How many bad apples have you had to eat?
It's probably about 30%.
Really? 30% of the business is questionable to you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So when we say that, does that make you angry at the, I guess, insurance company? Or do you get upset with the client? Or do you get mad at yourself for not checking it out further? How do you deal with that to stay in business?
Well, sometimes you can't check it out.
Okay.
We have what is called a billing company.
Okay.
Okay. We go directly to a billing company, and when we get that call, let's say St. Philip's Hospital call, and they say we need a patient that needs to be transferred to St. Dominic Hospital. Okay. Our first question is what type of insurance they got.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay. Now, it takes roughly 3 hours to 24 hours to see if that patient, you don't necessarily have to be a network, but see if that patient has coverage for ambulance discharge transfer. Now, get me when I say that, because it's a different terminology. You can get hurt at home, and you have coverage from home to the hospital. Okay?
Okay.
But you can be in the hospital having to go to another hospital or go home, and you might not have coverage. You don't have this. It's just not covered. So
Okay.
it is.
So now, let's stop right there. Let's go now to the person who helped write that policy, Dave. Here, we understand what happened here. We understand that a well-intended policy writer, salesperson, could have sold this insurance to someone and said, "Oh, you may need to get to a hospital one day, and so let's put this ambulance ride in the hospital." I mean, is that something that we would do or could
In
do?
the
Or how?
policies, you normally see what the carrier has provisioned in that policy.
Okay.
So if, for example, HealthNet, for example, they've provisioned a certain number of ambulance rides or medical transportation, not necessarily emergent, but they've provisioned a certain number of rides per year for that customer, for that client.
And you just put us in a couple of categories. You said ride to the hospital, and then you mentioned emergency.
Right.
Is that a different category? Does that
Being
cause?
emergent is a different thing. If you're emergent, well, you're at the
No,
threat of life or
emergency.
limb.
Emergency.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So if you're in that scenario, you're at the risk of life or limb. You're taking a ride in an ambulance because you need care right now.
Okay.
Right. That said, your carrier should have a provision for that. So the scenario that he's run across here, where he's not being compensated, it's not a win for him. It's not a win for anybody. But now it makes more sense to me on my side to see why some of the costs for some of these transportation are so high, right? Because if a provider is delivering his patient to another facility and he's not getting paid for it, how does he keep operating? So it makes sense to me now that the cost is so high. Whether the carrier has placed provision in that policy for it or not, no one will say until they actually look it up, and you'll find that in the explanation of benefits and was EOC explanation of coverage. But
So as a enroller salesperson,
right,
you would almost have to sit down and go through all of these life-threatening, changing
yeah,
situations
to know
and
exactly
take it,
what's
and,
what.
and take it all the way through the story.
Right.
You know, not just the front story or the intro, but take it all the way to almost
They go through the benefit summary.
Yes.
to get to the benefit summary on that.
And when they don't understand, then that's when we supposed to come in and make it clear to them if they don't understand something or whatever in that summary of benefits.
Oh, but we've been sitting here 2 hours, and the kids are hollering. It's almost time for dinner.
Right.
And
You've
when
lost
you
the
ask me,
sale.
do I understand? I'm not. I don't understand the thing, but I understand because I got to get.
I got to get you out of here so I can deal with these kids.
Right.
Understood.
So we've got a quandary here. It's a problem.
Right.
Okay.
Can I interject for a second?
Please do.
Do you mind? Okay. Let me say this. You kind of have two different types of agents. Okay. No agent, and I want to make sure everybody understands this. No agent knows everything about every policy
Ain't that the truth?
they sell. They know a little bit about every policy they sell. So when your agent sells you a policy, he's selling you what, quote unquote, the norm might be or what he thinks your needs are. He doesn't personally know your needs, and he doesn't personally know that policy verbatim.
Right.
So, and the problem that we're having now with this health care is these cold calling. I get 3 or 4 phone calls a day. Hey, Medicare, open enrollment. But, you know, it's something that you gotta do. Sit down and take your time. I had a gentleman. I take the dialysis every day. He's been taking it for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He changed policies. When he changed policies, his dialysis treatment transportation completely left him.
What? And he had no idea.
For 2 years, I took him.
And
He had no idea.
to that patient, that
So-
care is critical.
When after we let's say we took him 2 weeks, sent it to his insurance company, his prior insurance company. They said, well, we no longer have it. So now it's 2 weeks of travel that we've taken him. And then you call him, you go, hey, what happened? What's going on? And he said, well, I changed insurance. Now I got United Healthcare. Okay. We sent everything in through United Healthcare. And they said, well, we don't cover we don't cover transportation. So then you have to call him back and be like, okay, listen, your transportation is not covered. But that's not what the lady told me.
Right.
That's the nature of the beast that we're dealing with right now.
Right.
I mean, in my prior life, I was an adjuster. And people will call me, Caleb, my basement flood is not covered. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. Did a pipe burst? Or did the water come in, hit the ground, and come into your house? Well, I had a flood. It came in from the house. That's not covered. You got to have flood insurance. And then flood insurance also then requires certain things about it, 2 acres of land or something of that nature, that kind of thing. So we don't read it. It's really a tough situation. Somebody can make a whole lot of money with a console line saying, listen, what kind of insurance you got? Let me go over and let me talk about your needs.
Yeah, but that person would deserve to be paid as a good consultant and a good counselor at the beginning. But no one at the beginning realizes what they are stepping into. Most of us think, well, I'll just sign the agreement. It's going to be fine. Why? Because I'm in America, and America doesn't cheat. We can depend on the salespeople or our authorities to put everything in order. Because, the police, the governor, these guys don't cheat. We can depend on them. I grew up like that with that attitude. And, I hear my good compadre, Anthony Garcia, my mood master, he's just cracking up over here like, Wallace, you crazy. You're crazy. I've got an article that I can read and talk about where in Florida during 1980s, 90s, when we had when they created the crack epidemic, the sheriff department in Broward County wasn't able to process some of their arrests because the quality of the crack wasn't dependable enough for them to arrest the people. So they started making their own crack. Let me say it again. Broward County Sheriff's Department started making their own crack so that they could depend on the quality of the crack after they sold it to somebody, so that when they arrested that person, they were able to say, yeah, this is definitely crack, and you going to jail. And they would sell it to people within 1,000 feet of the school district or a school, so that required them to stay in jail at least for 3 years. And they are now looking at correcting some of that. Some of those folks are still in jail and blah, blah, blah. And that's entrapment. And it comes from the government. And okay,
That's
so
the craziest thing I ever heard of.
I'm telling you, but you pick it up and just ask about it. Broward County and crack. Look it up. Just ask about it. I'm sure it'll pop up. The point that I'm making is that as we trust and put our trust in people, and we find that they have enough faith in what they're selling to pay the CEO $10 million a year. And so I don't endorse it, but I understand when someone says, he let that go on. He's letting the denials go on. They're encouraging the salespeople to be as only clear as necessary to get the signature, not as clear as possible to be sure that everybody understands. And I say that from basic sales experience. We have an issue of transparency, and sometimes the threat of death may be the thing that gets people to be more thorough in their presentations. I don't know. Let me ask you this. Dave,
Sir.
as you sincerely think about your most recent presentation, would it have been different if someone were standing over you with a gun saying, Dave, if you miss anything, I'm not going to miss?
I would disengage immediately.
Right.
I'm not going to participate in
You're
something
not
that's
going to
so...
pretend that you can tell them everything.
Yeah, no, it's not worth it.
Right.
What you have to understand is that it is not only your responsibility as an agent or a broker to get the high points, which is where we all stay at. We don't dig into the weeds unless someone asks us, because time is always the issue. But it's the consumer's responsibility as well. Now, I may be passing the buck, so to speak, but it still comes down to who signed the agreement. When you step into that courtroom, is this your signature?
Mm-hmm.
Is this your signature? Is this your signature? Is this the document? You signed this document. What does the document say?
We used to
We're
trust
stuck
that
there.
judge's judgment.
Yeah.
We used to trust that judge and his judgment because we figured he was going to be fair.
Right.
We didn't know that the judge was taking airplane trips
To
and boat
Kokomo.
trips to Coco Land,
Yeah.
and getting home payments made so his mother could live there from the same client that we are bringing to court in front of this judge for him to make a fair decision.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start looking at that level of conflict of interest at our
Judicial
Supreme
level,
Court,
yes. Oh my God.
as we can start to look for, again, with our new administration, and I'll say this, there are a lot of things that I don't appreciate about Mr. Trump, but there's some things that I say he's probably going to do pretty well. Number one is, it's kind of like when we were growing up in school. If the bullies thought you were crazy, they would leave you alone. If the bullies thought that you would go off on them really quick and crazy, they would leave you alone. Trump has that image, and the world bullies tend to say, "Oh man, I can't threaten this dude because he's gonna take me. He's gonna take me serious, and I'm gonna have to be on the run and fighting around. I won't be able to, get all the benefits of being super rich around stupid folk because
Right.
I got somebody that's just as
Yeah.
hot on the button as I am." So I appreciate that part about him. I can see Ukraine and Russia starting to come together already. I can see the Middle East starting to, well, maybe we better start being friends again because this guy here, he's going to stop the money from flowing. He's not going, or he's going to change where it's going. That part, now if I could get him to be as domestically clear, I'd be happy. But I'm going to have to pay a price for that.
Right.
I'm going to have to pay a price that says, okay, I got to let this guy make money. I got to buy some of them Bibles with his name on them. I got to do some things that, allow
keep
him
them
to
sneakers,
make
I'm sorry.
extra money because the president money, that little $250,000 or $400,000 don't mean a thing to him. So all the time he's not making money, that he's spending helping the country, quote unquote, then, so we're in an era now, folks, where transparency, if it is transparent, and one thing about Trump, he's pretty transparent. I mean, he tells a lie and he don't mind telling the lie. Matter of fact, he don't mind telling you the lie in front of the person he's lying on, because he can turn to them and tell them a lie and they're going to believe him too. The greatest con man I've seen, ever. I have to be in great wonderment about that.
I have to agree.
But at the same time, others who are around him trying to do the same thing, they don't have the charisma, they don't have the charm, and it appears that he's willing to break them off when he catches them doing it. So I don't know. But I will say this, it is time for us to learn to read those agreements.
Right.
It is time for us to find, as you say, Brother Caleb, find that consultant who is willing to use the experience of his past to help people's future become brighter, because he's willing to turn over the marble and let you see the other side and let you know what's going on. And to some extent, maybe even represent you in the court. And I would imagine there's probably going to be a vigilante group. You know, what was the guy's name? Paladin, have gun, will travel. Listen, we are in the situation where that those of us who trust in God and want to stay in the shade, that's what we need to do. But everybody else that's going to run out there in the sunshine with their guns strapped on their hip, I can't control them, and I'm going to stay away from them, but I probably will watch them on TV. Okay? What is your advice as we roll forward into this this new atmosphere, Caleb, with your business? And it's a business, but you are my cousin, and I've known you for years, and you're a good man, and I know that you don't live on trying to fool people. I mean, not that you're not capable of it. I mean, I know that you will take a person out on a golf course and pretend that you can't play.
Absolutely.
I mean, but that's
the nature of that.
That's the part of the game. They may be
part of the game.
Yeah, they may be
That's the nature of the
pretending. They're pretending to you that they can't play. But if
Hey,
you're
good luck too. Okay.
yeah.
Keeping my wallet in my pocket. That's all I'm saying.
But I know that in terms of your integrity, you know enough based on who your grandfather and aunts and uncles were, that we know that we don't want to get caught cheating, because we know from our history that people who get caught cheating can come up missing.
Right.
So we don't do that.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah,
the same time. So what's your advice? What's your course? How do you intend to operate as we go forward? What do you advise people to do to cover themselves?
Well, it's really hard to say. You just got to read the policy. I mean, I don't think it ever get better unless we get like Canada when we have free health care. I can't even visualize it getting better. I mean, I've seen agents that have the best integrity in the policyholder first, and they still get rimmed. They still get degraded, and it's mainly because they don't know completely. You know, just like you buying a vehicle. I mean, you got a Mercedes, and you say the Mercedes is the best car, and the salesman sells you the best car, you know, and then 2 weeks later it breaks down.
Right.
You know, it's just I don't know if it'll ever get better. I really don't. I don't have a solution for it.
Well, you did make a statement that represents a solution that many people look at as, well, that's what we should be doing. We should not have a profit level, a profit incentive on health care. Some people say that the idea of keeping a person healthy is what allows that person to become maybe the genius that would socially improve all of our lives. So there's something to allowing a mind to fruate and become powerful enough to be what it can be and help the world. But then, you know, if we don't have an emphasis on helping the world, is that really going to be the case? Free health care. Dave, what does that sound like to you?
Free healthcare sounds like expensive.
Well, I mean,
That's the first thing that comes to
okay,
mind.
and expensive is this. Let's say this. When Ukraine went into their circumstance and needed help, despite our budgetary restraints, we were able to find billions of dollars out of nowhere because we wanted to.
Right.
Okay? And because the United States has great credit with itself. Because when we sell bonds in America, we have not defaulted on those bonds. If we say 50 years from now that bond is going to be worth 10 times what it is, we have done that. So expense is relative.
Right.
Okay, so it's based on what do we think is important? Because if it's a war, I've not seen them have any hesitation about
no.
printing some more money or digging up some more gold or,
Oh yeah.
okay?
They'll do that. They'll do that.
Before we go much further, would you tell people again, Brenda, how to get in touch with you guys? I don't want to miss that part.
Brenda Sutton with Sutton and Sutton Insurance Services. We're located at 301 9th Street in the city of Redlands. Our phone number is 909-300-5444. That's 909-300-5444. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4.
Caleb, you are in the city of Atlanta, but how far does your services reach? And does the general public call you, or are you only in contact or contacted by hospitals and things like that? How do we get you some business, or how do we let people know how to access your expertise?
I have a website, but we in actually Metro Atlanta. The name of our company is called Grace Care Ambulance, and we're in Metro Atlanta. And we mainly stay in the metro. We don't. Every now and then we travel out of state. It just depends. You got a lot of people that's got a lot of money to do private pay. We also do air. You'll be surprised how many people come from the private airports need transportation. That's private pay. But Grace Care Ambulance, and we're in the Metro Atlanta. I appreciate that plug, man.
Well,
Thank you.
Does it have to be an ambulance situation, or are you also considered a limousine situation? I don't know. If I'm flying in,
No, no limo.
do I have to be? Or you're not limo? Do I have
Typically,
to? Do I have to be sick to call you?
Yep.
I'm just
You
asking.
can call me anytime you want.
No, I don't mean cousin.
Don't call
Cousin.
me for no money.
No ride.
No,
Hey,
no.
tell your
Listen.
beautiful, tell your beautiful wife. Tell your beautiful wife she can call me though, okay? Josephine, can you hear me, Josephine?
No, she's probably listening at home, and then she probably will call you, especially if it's going to be a ride from the airport. So you don't give limo rides, but if you're sick, call Grace Ambulance Service in Metro Atlanta, and you can.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. All right, Caleb, I'm going to let you go and entertain your friends. Who you guys cheering for at the football game?
Well, we got the Falcons. We got a couple of TVs on. They outside right now on the deck smoking cigars, and we got a split screen, the Falcons and NFL Network. So.
Okay, very good, very good. I would tell you to cheer for the Rams, but I'm sure I don't have to do that. I'm sure you already know to cheer for them. So, all right, hang up on him. He's laughing at me. Talk to you later, Caleb. Okay. All right, you guys, we're looking at a real serious situation. You are in a business that is, first of all, as we talked before, people don't want to talk to you in the first place. And then when they do want to talk to you, chances are they're hiding something that's already happened, and they're trying to see if they can cover it. You guys are in a tough situation. You're very nice, good people. How do you deal with what's going on now? I know. Do you do life insurance? What kind of product do you sell? Let's tell people what products you are.
Brenda's been really busy in trying to make sure that we've got the Medicare aspects covered. But one of the things that we have is life insurance. And one of our great products right now to pay attention to is the short life policy. When I say short life policy, I really mean a policy that's going to be paid off very quickly, but whole life. It's permanent.
Okay,
right?
but that's something you.
Pay life insurance policy.
But you guys are. She's a broker.
Yes.
So she's not tied to any one company.
Negative. No.
So she's able to discuss elements of the products and help a person find a company that is going to be more tailored for them individually.
Right.
That, I think, is even more important now. Knowing that, hearing that is really important. So I want to say thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, for having us.
And once again, give me that phone number real quick.
909-300-5444.
Speak to-
Sudden Insurance Services.
Yes, and speak to Sutton and Sutton as friends, as consultants. They are willing to talk to you without the idea that you're going to buy something in the next 15, 20 minutes or hour. But they are willing to talk to you. They are good people. I trust them, and I advise you to trust them, especially if you're getting ready to make the investment on insurance. And it is an investment, and it is something that you need to understand, not stand under. Understand. God bless you. Thank you for the time that you spent with us today. I hope we've been helpful, and I do. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'm doing my best to try to show you something that's going to be helpful to you. God bless you. See you next week under two circumstances. One, if the good Lord's willing. Two, if the creek don't rise. God bless you.
And Oklahoma City looks fine.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters